I said, I'm not going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a magician. And I just loved this life. I would go out dreaming up magic tricks during the day, and then I would go out and do them in the evening, and a bit like a child in a world of grown-ups.
It was university that's sort of sparked your interest in hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
You saw someone on campus doing...
Martin Taylor was doing a show. Yes, it was in my freshers week, and
wow.
I thought it was amazing. And I left and walked back that night with a friend and said, I'm going to learn how to do this. And my friend Nick said, oh yeah, so am I. But I knew I meant it. I knew that. I'd never seen it before, never come across hypnosis. I obviously had heard of it, but and it was a good show. Like, it wasn't, embarrassing people and making them look stupid. It was sort of just jaw-dropping.
How did you know that you meant it? Because I've had that feeling in my life before where something just connects.
Yeah. Well, I think it was those boxes were being ticked. Something about performing, something about control. I didn't really know it. It just felt like I have to do that. It's the most amazing thing I've seen. And it was appealing in ways that just weren't really, ways I hadn't really thought about. I hadn't thought about performing, but yeah, I think that's what's happening, isn't it? There's something, it's resonating unconsciously. It's something that you kind of need. And yeah, it was absolutely there was no doubt. So I just bought, borrowed, stole any books I could find on the subject. You probably just learn on YouTube nowadays, but it's probably a dodgy thing because you need to learn it the long way round, so that if you run into problems or if someone's having a weird time when you're hypnotizing them, you can't be like fumbling around trying to Google what to do. You need to have the skills there and the wherewithal to deal with it. So I definitely learned the long way round. Yeah.
And then you became, I think, from what I was reading, pretty obsessed with magic and hypnosis, and to the point that you have a conversation with your parents and you tell them that you're gonna... I
remember saying to my mum, I think, I'm not going to be a lawyer. I was studying law and German. I said, I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a magician. I said, oh, fine, that sounds great. Sounds much more fun. Which actually made me stop and think, okay, hang on, I'm probably being a bit rash.
What did they say? So they were okay with it?
Totally, yeah. That's what she said. She said, oh, that sounds great. Sounds much more fun. It's nice, isn't it? Actually, I wrote them a letter at the end of my first year saying, because I saw all these other law students really fretting about their exams because of what their parents were going to think if they didn't pass. And that had never occurred to me as a thing that your parents would make you feel. So I wrote them a letter thanking them for that, just for letting me always do what I wanted to do. The only thing they ever put any pressure on me to do is learn how to drive, and I don't drive.
You still don't drive?
I still don't drive, yeah.
It's quite a common story, I have to say, that your obsession seemed to come from, or at least be driven by, some kind of insecurity. As in, like, the reason why hypnosis initially resonated so much was because it was giving you it felt like it might offer you something that you were looking for or didn't have in yourself. Yeah. That's a story I hear all the time.
That's what obsessions are, though, isn't it? Isn't that the nature of them? Aren't your own?
It's just that the level of obsession I saw from that day when you discovered hypnosis, like getting all the books, teaching yourself, and then even beyond university where you start working in restaurants for many years. How long from that first day when you saw hypnosis for the first time until, let's say, before the TV stuff began? How long is that sort of tenure?
I think the tenure is about 10 years.
10 years?
I think so. Let me think. So I graduated 94, and then by that point I was doing the odd hypnosis show for students. The first TV show went out in December 2000. So I was into it was about 10 years, but that also included my university career. But there was a 6-year period after university, by which point I was already doing it, mainly for students, when I was just then signing on or just about scraping a living, doing hypnosis shows, but a lot more magic. I was doing magic in restaurants in Bristol, and then people would book me for their parties. And I wrote a book for magicians, which kind of got me known within that world, which that then led to being picked out for a TV show. That led to me getting a phone call, my name getting passed around in that world.
So that's almost 10 years of practicing,
Yeah.
and without any real money. When you say signing on, for people that are in America,
signing on as in welfare, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, I lived in my student flat I stayed in. It was quite a nice flat. I had all my books in it, my parrot, and so that didn't cost me very much. And I just loved this life. I would go out dreaming up magic tricks during the day, and then I would go out and do them in the evening. And so I developed my own sort of approach to it all. And I just remember thinking, I've never had any ambition at all, and I just remember thinking, if I can take a cross section of my life, is everything in the right place? Like, I'd like to get up whenever I like to get up. I'd like to feel I can make my own decisions about what I do from day to day, and I just had a vague idea of those sorts of things that were important to me, and if anything didn't feel right, it'd be easy to sort of change. And that was always how it was never about looking forward into the future. It was never about where do I want to be. It was just, is this day, this week, sort of the life that I'd like to be living? And that's never changed. I suppose the difference is, as you get successful, you start to have people around you that are doing those other jobs for you, the grown-up jobs. And, I've got a manager, and I've worked with producers and all that kind of thing. So it's not like that doesn't have to happen somewhere along the line, but it doesn't come from me. You can feel like a kid a bit like a child in a world of grown-ups. So I feel that sometimes, except now the grown-ups are younger than me, which is strange. But also I think maybe that's a good way to feel. Maybe that's a nice way to be.
If you contrast yourself from today to that young man in those restaurants in Bristol doing the magic tricks, is there a difference in your level of happiness?
I think about this. I think it's about the same, but it's different. I mean, a bit like being a kid and playing on my own. Most of my 20s my 20s were sort of fairly solitary as well, and that's another template that settles in. So that's again an easy place to go back to. I love my own company, all my interests, the things I love doing out of my job, painting, writing, and reading, and they're all like solitary things. That's a comfortable place for me. So part of me had more of that then, so slightly misses that, but actually that's, also aware that was lonely sometimes, and I like being in a relationship too. So it's different, had a different feel about it. I think the freedom to just do what I wanted to do and kind of create this sort of world for myself, that was kind of lovely. And it's harder to do that as you grow up and you do have responsibilities, and you're contributing to a household, and you've got a partner, and you've got dogs and all of that. It's not quite as easy. So a childish part of me would kind of quite like the idea of going back to that, but not really. I wouldn't really press a button and make it happen. It's just a nice little sort of back of the head dream, as we probably all have, maybe, don't we? A slight kind of fantasy thing if we'd never really live it out, but it's just something nice about.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favour. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.